Hello everyone, it's Omae and welcome back to the brand new video. Today I wanted to talk about all of the super evolutions available in the Kizuna shop. Which ones should you prioritize? And also don't make this mistake because it's very easy as a new player to see, okay, the skull's only available in box 2 onwards, so just skip box 1. But no, the Kizuna Insignia this time around in Kizuna, this is the resource that you need to super evolve all of your legends, is multiplied by 5 this Kizuna. And even in the lower boxes, they give you a lot of the stuff. So don't skip the box once you get the new skull, or just skip boxes entirely. You need to pull throughout the entire box, max out everything. Don't skip until you finish the entire box, because you can get up to 1000 Kizuna Insignia in this Kizuna in particular. So this is a very special event, even compared to usual Super Boss Kizunas. Don't make that mistake. You will get enough tickets, don't worry. We have Super Boss, which gives a ridiculous amount of the stuff. So click try 30 times for all this. Don't skip a thing. We don't care about the almighty manual. The main thing is that 50 Kizuna Insignia. I've maxed out the box, now I can continue. Box 2, if anything, you actually get more Kizuna Insignia per ticket at the lower boxes, so it's really important that you max out these lower ones, right? Later on, the skulls are more important. Here we get the first skull for Enero. You can get his copies for free from Pirate Rumble. Just do 50 runs in the rival match and you will get a free copy of him, right? So I know you want to be impatient, you want to get the new Super Evolution skulls to Super Evolve your Nustro, your Co-op Roger, as well as the new Eneru. But be patient, the Insignia is worth it. You don't get a lot of this resource. Every month, you only get a finite amount because at box 7, there's none of this stuff available. So only boxes 1 to 6 do the game give you Insignia, right? So don't think, okay, I can just get a lot of it at box 7 and reset it constantly. That's not how it works. There is a limited amount of it every month. So as a new player, you have countless units to super evolve. And as I said, I will prioritize each one for you guys on a tier list in this video. But let me first max out my boxes, right? Do this with you guys. Please don't make this mistake. I cannot emphasize it enough. All these rainbow chests, very, very nice. And who is this? It's the Roger, right? And don't be fooled, because when you get everything, all the rainbow chests from the box, the game actually puts up a prompt for you saying skip to the next box. But you have to be very aware of this and click out of that. Otherwise, you're gonna miss the other 100 items here. It's gonna be the same thing for the later boxes. If you get all the rainbow chests, the game actually prompts you to skip to the next one, because under usual circumstances, it's not as big of a deal. But as I said, this is a special Kizuna Clash 5x Kizuna Insignia. If I accidentally click that prompt, I would have lost out on about like 80 Insignia, which is a lot, right? And another thing is that we do have the Kizuna potions available for Insignia, and it's double this time around. So it costs the same amount of Kizuna Insignia as usual, but you get 2 potions instead of 1. And of course, this is the resource that you need to fill up your Kizuna power. So I'll show you guys which ones are worth that in a moment, before we talk about the super evolutions, right? Yeah, this is the prompt I was talking about. After clearing all the rainbow stuff, it prompts you to do this. Do not click on yes, max out everything in the box. And also forgot to mention, but you can get the Pirate Rumble Legend Aokiji for free on box 6. This guy becomes an absolute beast in his super evolved state. Another legend that we will talk about in a moment. So yeah, definitely make sure you pick up that copy. He's a really good unit, especially for your bench, right? And one key detail is that you actually don't get all of these skulls for Nustro until you complete box 7 twice, I think. Oh, yeah. No, once only. Okay, so they actually changed this. They made it before in Kizuna Super Boss, where I think you needed to clear the box 7 twice. But now you only need to do it once. So that's quite easy. Very, very easy with how much tickets Super Boss gives you, right? And one nifty trick, that if you are someone who has very few tickets and you're really struggling to get by and to just trying to get these super evolutions maxed, then on box 7 here, if you do end up getting Nustro in the first like 200 tickets, getting one of his skulls, then reset, because it's going to increase your chances of getting all 3 of these skulls dramatically, right? So I actually didn't get very lucky here on the first 100. But on average, you should be seeing at least one Nustro skull every 666 tickets. So if you get a Nustro before then you have beat the averages and it's worth it for you to reset the box. That'll give you the highest chance of maxing out the Nustro, getting all 5 of his skulls. So let me see if I can do it here. No, not a single skull yet. So I'm not very lucky, it seems. If you get like his first skull after the first 666, at that point, I would say just continue on the box, try and max it out, because clearly it's not going to work out for you. It's going to just be better to stay on that one box and don't reset. No Nustro skulls. Come on, bro. Oh yeah, it's definitely possible for you to get heavily shafted here. 900 tickets in, not a single skull for Nustro. Come on, bruh. I can't get halfway in and not get a single skull. Don't shaft me this bad. I mean, I can handle it, but a lot of the newer players, especially people who didn't get into an alliance, they're gonna really struggle to get by on that super boss and getting these skulls halfway through. Not a single skull for Nustro. What is happening? Like, it's very much possible for you to get to that final 100 and all 3 Nustro skulls are in that final 100. Okay, finally one of them. Like, if you get into this situation, definitely do not reset. It's your worst decision. So if you get Nustro in the first 300, I'd say, even maybe the first 400, then reset. Otherwise, just continue and finish the box. Okay. Yep, we have a bit of above average luck now, since we did get that second Nustro skull quite early. And okay, no, not the third one. Okay, not bad. We got it done in 1,600 tickets. Definitely could be worse, so I'll take it. So let's just straight into the Kizuna shop. I will, of course, show you guys a tier list so that everything is clear. I'm not going to just like point to the unit and say, okay, buy this guy, don't buy this guy. That's very unclear, right? So all the skulls are available here. And as I said, the Kizuna potions here, definitely buy the 1-for-1 insignia. That's everyone, even if you're a new player. Same goes for the 5 insignia potion one. And then when it comes to the 25 and 100, I would say the 25 insignia one is also worth it. But when it comes to the 100 insignia one, it is a 2x potion, whereas usually it's only 1 potion for 100 insignia. So, I mean, me personally, 100% worth it. But for newer players, I wouldn't say that last one is worth it. Unless you're someone who is like off the cuff, you're starting the game and you're already carrying your alliance in Super Boss, then you really want those potions, as much of them as possible. And newer players are already just not going to have a lot of them. Whereas someone like me who's played a lot of Kizuna, hasn't used a lot of these potions. I have over 100 of them. But for newer players, that 100 insignia potion, I really wouldn't recommend it. And I will be talking about all the free-to-play units here in a separate video. A lot of them do have level limit break upgrades, which do need to be discussed. And also, just a lot of these characters are great in general, even without those upgrades. And I'm pretty sure some of them also have super evolutions that are also available from the skulls here. But in this video, all I'm going to be talking about is the legend super evolutions. Those are the ones that matter the most right now. So moving over to the tier list. Okay, so I'm gonna rank all the free-to-play units as well as the legends that have the super evolutions available in the Kizuna exchange. I'm not considering the characters that super evolve using the regular skulls, only characters that have these special skulls in the Kizuna exchange, because you can get those regular skulls in the Rayleigh's Bazaar as well. So much easier to get those compared to these character specific ones. I'll first go through the legends. First through the free-to-play units, then the legends. I will rank this based on not only their overall performance, which does include Power Rumble and also regular content, but also how good is their jump from 5-star form to 5+ form, from 6-star form to 6+ form. Is it a jump that's worth using your insignia on? So those are the two main criteria: overall performance in their super evolved state and if they also need level limit break, how good is their level limit broken form. Of course, it will contribute better for a unit if they don't need level limit break to be good, but mainly overall performance in their ideal state, and then also how big is the jump in super evolution, right? So those are the two main criteria. Let's get straight into it. We have S being must buy characters, A, units that I often use, B, very niche use cases, and then C, out of trash, they have zero merit. So first off, the free-to-play units. So starting off with the Kuja Pirates, this is a really decent character, one of the first free-to-play units in the game to give a delay conditional boost through immunities, and it is a self-procced conditional attack boost, but it is only a 1.5x conditional attack boost. Besides that, they do provide a bit of utility. They're not a terrible unit by any means, but nowadays I really just never use them. They do reduce defense up and blue rainbow shield as well by 5 turns, and then also give you a 2x attack boost for 2 classes. But to get that delay to go through immunities, you have to have 50,000 or more HP, which isn't bad, but the only type of immunity that she's ignoring is delay immunity specifically. So she's not going through immunity excluding certain status effects and all immunities, so it's very niche to use her. It is a massive jump in the super evolved state, because if you use her in her regular form before super evolution, there's no way she's going to go through even regular delay immunity, and this is only going to be 4 turn utility. So overall, that jump in super evolution is really good, so I will put her in niche. She doesn't have bad utility, her damage isn't terrible whatsoever. It's an overall not a terrible unit, but just because of the fact that delay immunity is the only one that they're going through, and also their multipliers are really weak. The utility even in the super evolved state is kind of mediocre. Only 5 turns is not good enough nowadays, and of course terrible in rumble. So niche unit, I would say, which kind of hurts because she used to be such an amazing character, right? Jack, I would say he's also quite niche. I have used him quite a bit before. I would say he's better than the Kuja Pirates because his utility is 6 turns, and he also provides a multiple stage color affinity. The main use I've used him for in the past is that he wave clears and then gives a 3-turn buff. So what I would do is use him a special to wave clear fodder mobs, and then in the following stage you'd have a color affinity for the crew, which is really nice. But he is a high cooldown unit for that purpose, and his multipliers are way too low. He's not doing much, but his utility is much better in my opinion compared to the Kuja Pirates, and there's no strings attached. You can use him and there's no conditions or anything like that. But I also wouldn't say he's an often used character. I'll leave him here in niche. And I'm not saying that this is in order. All the characters in niche, they just the same category. But generally, I will try to put units that are better ahead of these worse units like Kuja Pirates. I do think Jack is much better. And then we have Big Mom. This unit does have a purpose in the fact that she removes beneficial effects. And I think I should actually add a new tier here called decent, because I do think Jack deserves to be a tier above the Kuja Pirates. He's not a terrible unit, he's not niche, but he's also not often used. So I think this middle ground here is going to be really important. But when we're talking about Big Mom, right now I actually got it quite confused. There's a different Big Mom that removes beneficial effects. This one is actually quite a lot better, because she provides solid utility, special bind reduction. She of course removes it completely on herself, which I think is really good. A lot of characters, they only reduce the special bind on themselves by how many turns their special reduces it. But there are situations you get 10 turns of special bind, for instance, and you need 2 units to reduce it, in which case someone like this is really good that completely reduces it on herself. She also reduces rainbow shield by 6 turns, and then gives you some decent orb manipulation. Similar orbs cannot be changed by the enemy, so you can use this utility for orb manipulation on the stage beforehand, and then the enemy will not be able to give you block, super block, poison, paralysis orbs, etc. And she does make those orbs beneficial for driven and powerhouse units, so it is only for those classes, but still really powerful. And then once again, a 3-turn buff, a 2x orb boost for driven and powerhouse. So it's quite weak. And also this orb manipulation is only for block and recovery orbs, so it's a bit niche and hard to use. But I would say she's a bit better than Jack. And that upgrading utility from the 5-star form to 5+ is also quite huge, going from 4 turns to 6 turns for both of these buffs. I mean, both of these utilities. And then the buff also goes from being only 2 turns to 3 turns, which is a massive difference because you can carry that over multiple stages. Overall, I just think this unit's really solid overall. Definitely not a bad option when it comes to the super evolutions. I'll put it here in the decent tier alongside Jack. The special bind reduction utility alongside the similar orbs just makes her that bit better in my opinion. But then we have the Krieg Pirates. This is actually the first unit we're talking about that has a level limit break upgrade, and he becomes quite good. So one thing you need to note is that level limit break upgrades are only given to the unit when they are super evolved in this case. So getting a super evolution state already is great because it allows you to get access to the upgrade. And his dupes are quite easy and cheap to get. Unfortunately, even with the level limit break upgrades, it doesn't give him what he needs. So his whole deal is that he provides a self-proccing conditional attack boost for poison, and that does allow you to get around enemy resilience as well. He also gives the crew a damage reduction so you can survive death hits, and then he also gives you at least 5 turns of bind and despair reduction, 6 turns if you have 6 driven units on the crew. And then if your captain's powerhouse, you also get a buff to the conditional boost. Unfortunately, it's still quite weak, being only 2.25x. There's a lot of strings attached here, and this is a really missed opportunity to give him the ability to go through immunities with the poison. That's the main thing he needed, but even with all these requirements here, that is not provided. And he does paralyze the enemy as well with this level limit break upgrade, but it's so unnecessary. Like, you're already poisoning the enemy, make it go through immunity now. And also the bind and despair reduction is kind of mediocre. The conditional boost is also really weak. Yes, he makes badly matching and block orbs count as neutral for 5 turns, but that's also really useless in basically every content, and no one needs this. So just a very niche unit overall. Even with the level limit break upgrades, this is just not a character you're using very often, unfortunately. They really missed the mark in terms of salvaging his abilities. But I do think this Blackbeard is actually really good. I would even put him in the often used category. I use him quite a decent amount. And that's because he's the only free-to-play unit in the game to provide the same effect that Emu provides, reducing all enemy positive buffs by 1 turn. So this works for damage limiters, damage nullification, defense up, damage reduction threshold barriers. Basically every type of enemy positive buff is reduced by a turn. And then he also gives a self-proccing conditional attack boost, and he gives the enemy defense down to 100%. It doesn't go through immunities, but in the case that the enemy has defense up and doesn't have immunities to defense down, then this is a really solid unit. The main drawback is that he's a very high cooldown unit, and he only reduces special bind by 5 turns. But he will also provide a base attack boost for driven and fighters. He does have lower stage specials if you don't need this positive buff reduction, which is still going to give you the conditional boost at the same level, right? So when he gets to the stage 2, it's only 17 turns, which is still quite high. But overall, there's a lot of versatility here. A lot of the time you only need stage 1 at 11 turns. Other times stage 2 is going to be great and quite usable, but the fact that you get access to the stage 3 is just insane for a free-to-play unit. His special bind reduction is just really mediocre, but yeah, you definitely want to super evolve this unit. He's great because he doesn't get that ability with the stage 3 to reduce enemy positive buffs if you don't super evolve him. So I mean, he's a bit hard to use. His special bind reduction is mediocre, his cooldown is extremely high, but overall he is a really powerful free-to-play unit and definitely worth super evolving. So I'll put him there in the often used category. Orochi, I'm just not going to talk about this guy. He is pretty much trash. He reduces a lot of different debuffs, but it's only 3 turns. His orb boost is only 2 turns, not even multiple stage. It's only for driven, and it's very weak multipliers. And this requirement is ridiculous. And even when you meet it, a chain lock is just not good nowadays. We need chain boundaries, and it's not even for 3 turns. Like, just a horrible unit, even with the super evolution. Now, finally, we have some really good characters. So Roger, he has double special activation. He is a really good free-to-play unit because he can get up to 6 turns of bind reduction, 6 turns of defense up and resilience reduction. He also provides a damage reduction for the crew, to allow you to survive death hits. He provides a base attack boost in the first activation, and then the second activation extends it to 3 turns. So this is a multiple stage buff here. Overall, just really good. He also is only 13 turns of cooldown and gets a lot of CD from this Sailor ability, which allows you to get cooldown when any other slasher or free spread unit uses their special. So overall, just a really solid unit, definitely worth having. And then when we talk about the Odin that came alongside with him, he's also a really interesting unit. I think the best barrier reducer, and also he gets around resilience. Just a very unique and powerful special. All enemies barrier reduced by 3 turns. We've seen so much content where the enemy has specifically 3 turns of barrier turns, and having this to completely remove that is super powerful. And then he also does 300 times damage to one enemy as dex damage. This can kill a lot of weak enemies on, for instance, stage 3 of content. But then he also extends your orb boost by 2 turns if your captain is slasher or free spirit. A lot of these characters nowadays provide a 1-turn orb boost, but it's a massive orb boost. Being able to extend that by 2 turns is super good, making it last for multiple stages. He's just not doing a lot, unfortunately, and I really thought that this was end of turn damage, which would have been way better. It would have meant that he gets around resilience, but he's kind of just a 2-trick pony, I guess. Just way worse than the the Roger unit, in my opinion, right? So I'll have to put him here in the decent tier. But really, the only other free-to-play unit that's reducing that many turns of barriers is free-to-play Treasure Map Drake. But even then, he is a pretty bad unit overall with a lot of requirements. This Odin is just very easy to use. A lot of the times, you will have a slasher or free spirit captain as well. Then we have this Luffy. He is a captain swap unit, which definitely has its pros and its cons. I'll put him here in decent. Unfortunately, though, he's quite awkward to use. And the main use he'd have from the captain swap is kind of not present with this unit because his captain swap is only 1 turn. What would be ideal is that this is a 2-turn captain swap. You activate this the turn before the enemy gives you a random captain swap. By that I mean a lot of enemies in the game, they will change one of your random subs to your captain, which is definitely not what you want. In which case you could use a unit that gives you a 2-turn captain swap beforehand, and that blocks the enemy from giving you that. But unfortunately, 1 turn is just not enough. Also, even in his super evolved state, his utility is only 5 turns for bind and rainbow shield, and also his cooldown is only 1 turn that he gives, so he's not even reliable for getting around special rewind. He does have a decent Sailor ability here, and he can be a pretty decent wave clearer because he also gives cooldown, but his cooldown itself is a bit too high for that to be viable. Just a really difficult unit to use, but he does have access to the cooldown reduction potential ability. So at the start of the quest, he's a 7-turn cooldown unit. He can be used to wave clear and give the cooldown, but a lot of the time you really don't want to be swapping him for the captain. It really slows down the quest and can really mess up your run. Overall, he's not a terrible unit, but a bit niche, I would say. I'll put him here in the niche tier. Then we have Uta. This character is unfortunately not reducing a lot of the debuffs in terms of how many turns, but she is providing a self-proc conditional attack boost for defense down. She has a good Sailor ability for chain boost. In her special as well, she's providing a chain boost. She gets around bind, despair, and attack down. But yeah, I would say she's an often used character. I think she only gets around 4 turns of those debuffs though. Okay, no, she can get up to 6 turns of bind and despair reduction, only 4 turns of the attack down. The thing is that if the enemy has any immunity to defense down, then she's really hard to use because she won't get this extra bind and despair reduction. But if the enemy is not immune to defense down and they have a defense up, then this is great for getting around the defense up, giving you a conditional attack boost for it, reducing bind and despair by 6 turns, attack down by 4 turns, giving you a 1.1 chain additive buff. Just really good. So remember, she does have the cooldown reduction and also double special activation potential abilities. So that makes her so good. She's only an 8 CD unit essentially with that potential ability. You use it twice, you get so much utility, really good damage as well, and also get around enemy defense up. So it's getting around enemy buff, three debuffs by quite a decent amount of turns and providing you 2 forms of damage. If she went through immunity, I would say she's a must-buy character. Honestly, she's a free-to-play unit. She costs less for her super evolution skulls. I'm gonna say she's a must-buy. I mean, if the enemy doesn't have defense down immunity, then she is an absolute legend of a free-to-play unit, right? And then Shanks, this is one of the most powerful free-to-play units in terms of damage provision. Like, if you're using free-to-play units in Super Boss, then he's really good because he does provide a chain boundary effect, as well as a I'm pretty sure a base attack boost, and what else, he has pretty good utility as well. My boy Shanks, really good free-to-play units right here. And I think there is quite a big upgrade in his special from the regular form and the super evolved form. Resilience and threshold by 6 turns. Bottom row units get tandem orbs, which are allowing you to perform super tandem, of course. And for most teams, tandem orbs are counted as beneficial. Paralysis by 6 turn, and also the chain boundary. And this is a really good chain minimum for a free-to-play unit. It is only a 1-turn buff, but regardless, it's really powerful. And also not a bad support ability whatsoever. Before the super evolution, he is only 5 turns on the utility, and he's not giving you the tandem orbs. I wouldn't say that's a crazy upgrade. He's definitely good even before the super evolution, but he just becomes such a monster of a unit with the super evolution. I will put him here in often used. Brook, must buy unit. Similar to Don Krieg, he does have the level limit break upgrades, but unlike Don Krieg, he's actually good with the super evolution and the level limit break upgrades. If your captain's orb is recovery or tandem, gives you a crit damage buff of 25% for 3 turns. I'll explain in a separate video how good the crit damage buff is, but it's very unique. I think this is the only free-to-play unit in the game to provide a crit damage buff, and then also reduces bind and attack down by 6 turns. Gives Self a tandem orb, adjacent orbs into recovery, which you can use to hit around at least 3 hunger stacks, and then also allows you to swap orbs, which is also quite a powerful and unique effect. Makes perfects easy to hit, and then gives you a base attack boost of 1000 for all characters, and then also a 1250 base attack boost in the following turn. So multiple stages of damage, really good utility, very unique damage boosting effect, allowing you to get around hunger stacks as well and just get matching orbs in general. He is also providing a very unique support ability to dex slasher units, so a lot of characters that he attaches to. So I definitely think it's worth the super evolution, also since you get access to those level limit break buffs, which mainly adds the crit damage buff, which is still really worth it. The base attack boost also gets a bit better. So overall, I would say he's a must-buy unit. Provides very unique effects. On the contrary, however, Doflamingo is quite horrible of a unit. I would say he's quite niche. He's pretty decent if you are using him alongside the 6+ Legend Sugar. But even then, he's only reducing bind and attack down by 5 turns. Your captain has to be driven or cerebral to get that utility, which in the first place is quite mediocre. He's a high cooldown unit. He reduces cooldown of other units and locks your slots. But what's the point of giving cooldown when you yourself are a high cooldown unit? You don't get around special rewind since you don't reduce your own CD when it's reduced. And also the base attack boost for 3 turns is only to cost 40 units or less. So no legends, no treasure map units, and of course none of the 4 Emperor units from the recent batches are getting this attack boost for base attack boost, should I mean. Unless you are using the 6+ Legend Sugar to turn those units into toy bears, which changes their cost. So very hard to use, and even then he's just kind of very niche character. I definitely don't prioritize him. Gop is really powerful though, I would say. He does also have access to the captain swap. I would say he's just a much more valuable of that Psy Luffy, a way more valuable version, should I say. He reduces only 4 turns of defense up and damage reduction, but when he becomes the captain, as long as you have a Luffy, Ace, Saba, or Sengoku on the crew, he becomes way better because he reduces another 2 turns of the defense up. Still not reducing more turns of the damage reduction though, so a bit harder to use. but he will also provide a universal attack boost, a buff to existing attack boost. Of course, super type from a free-to-play unit is really nice, and then you can choose to remove the captain swap because of course he's going to be a weaker captain. But then he's also providing a color affinity for 2 types with the special, giving him sulfur tandem orb because he does actually have super tandem from a free-to-play unit, which is quite interesting. But for all the work you're putting in, I wouldn't say he's that crazy. I think we should put him in the decent tier. I thought he was way better than that, if I'm being honest, but still not a terrible unit overall. But he's providing 2 types of damage buffs and some decent utility. My main issue there is that he's not reducing the damage reduction by 2 turns with the super type, and also his captain swap is only 1 turn, so once again you can't use it to get around weak captain swaps from the enemy. Kaido, on the other hand, is like the toughest free-to-play unit. He gives such amazing damage boosting effects. I would say he's here. Even just for his support ability, he's an absolute monster. This guy, he gives like 2.5x attack and orb boost for Driven and Strikers, or Driven and Powerhouse, and then he also gives you 1 orb for himself. One of the only free-to-play units in the game to provide 1 orbs, even if it's just to himself. It is going through block, which in a lot of circumstances gives you enough damage to clear the enemy, since he's providing a driven attack and orb boost of 2.5x. This is a free-to-play unit, by the way. So really good. He is doing damage in his special, which gives him access to a lot more support abilities, and he does have access to super type when he's the captain, which does give the enemy increased damage taken as well as reduce his own cooldown. This does not go through immunities, but the fact that he's a free-to-play unit providing this is quite intense. And then he's also giving a end of turn damage with his captain effect, which allows you to get around enemy resilience, of course. And he is getting pretty decent multipliers as a captain, so pretty good free-to-play unit, like I must say. And he attaches to Jack, King, and Queen and gives you a 1.5x attack and orb boost for Driven and Powerhouse units when the supported unit uses this special. So a lot of the time on stage 3 of Quest, this support alone will give you enough damage to clear. Now, unfortunately, it's not attaching to a lot of units, but if you use this with Legend Int Queen, then that's going to be an insane combo, since that Queen provides a color affinity and full board of matching orbs, and then the Kaido support will give you an attack and orb boost for that, which is really nice, right? Really good support effect and special, pretty good captain ability as well. Then Perona, I think this unit is busted, a must buy. First off, one of the only units in the game to provide this extremely valuable sailor effect of reducing everyone's special bind by a turn. Like, that's just an additive. She doesn't even get around special bind in her special, but having that is just so valuable. It helps a lot of other special bind reduction utility units to fulfill the quota and remove all 6 turns of special bind, right? And then she reduces bind, attack down, and burn by 5 turns. Provide a color affinity in the turn when you activate the special, and then in the next turn you get an attack boost, and then also provides a heal if you have a threshold buff. But otherwise, she gives you a threshold buff, so you can get around basically any type of death hit with this damage reduction effect. Really powerful unit, provides damage over multiple stages, pretty good utility, gets around death hits, and then also has that incredibly powerful sailor ability. The only issue here is that her reduction is only for 5 turns, but still not bad whatsoever, and I do really recommend getting that super evolution for 5 turns of the utility instead. But overall, she's not bad even before the super evolution, but definitely a must-buy character, and I really would recommend super evolving. Yamato I can't really say the same for her. She's kind of a whatever free-to-play unit. She delays the enemy, gives them increased damage taken of 1.5x, but none of that goes through immunities. Yes, she gets around the damage reduction. Gets around death hits with her own damage reduction. She does provide a damage reduction based attack boost, which would be broken if she could be used as a sailor. But you can't use this super special unless she's the captain, which, she has a really bad captain ability, so you really don't want to be running her as the captain. She does give 1 orbs, but it's only to the middle row and it's not through block. She does fix damage to all enemies, but yeah, there's really no purpose here. She just does a lot of nonsense, I would say. She gets around death hits and enemy resilience, but that's about it. Yeah, just a very average unit overall. Only if she's captain is she pretty decent, but even then, none of her status effects are going through immunities, which is the big problem, right? I'll put her in decent. She's not a horrible unit, definitely better than these bums, I would say. And then we have Kid, I think this was the collaboration with TCG. He's a really good character overall, at least in often used. He does have powerful utility. He is one of the more recent free-to-play units. I mean, I say recent, but he's probably like 3 years old by now, but way more recent than those other units. He does provide an AoE damage, 6 tons of paralysis reduction, so great that it's 6-turn utility. But here's the kicker: a full board of super bomb orbs through block, which he does make beneficial for all characters, not just a specific type or class. Now, if you don't know anything about Treasure Cruise, super bomb slots cannot be changed by the enemy, so you can use the special, change your block orbs, even like literally all orbs including block, into super bomb. Find a way to lock your slots for a turn, and then this will block the enemy from giving you poison orbs, paralysis orbs, super block orbs. Just any type of bad orb will be blocked by the super bomb slots. And by the way, this is made matching, so really good utility. One of the best free-to-play orb manips in the game, and then also gives you a color affinity that will not go away until you take damage. So you can activate the special on stage 1 and the color affinity will still be there by stage 5. All you need to do is not take damage, which if you have a good team, it shouldn't be a problem. And then also gives you a threshold buff for 2 turns, so you are immune to death hits. You get insane orb manipulation that will allow you to avoid incoming terrible orbs. You get utility, and also you can wave clear weak enemies with this ability. And then if you are running him as your captain, which I mean, if you don't have a lot of units in your box, he's actually not a terrible captain. Boosts 2 classes and a type, gets you about 5x damage, and will allow you to get a increase in incoming color affinities. He does also make the super bomb counters matching, but then you get access to the super special, which gives you AoE wave clear, and then also buffs the orb modifier of those super bomb slots from 2x up to 2.5x, which essentially makes them as strong as 1-0 orbs, right? Which is insane. And then of course super type. So very decent captain to run as a free-to-play unit, but then also just a really good sub as a special. Amazing unit. And in terms of the upgrade from 5-star to 5-star plus, it is quite huge, because these will only be regular bomb slots which the enemy can change, and it won't go through block orbs. So it is a massive upgrade with the super evolution. You want that. Honestly, a must-buy unit. That's just really powerful, right? Alba, I really can't say the same. He's aight. He does have the ability to reduce status effects, I think only bind and despair, on himself, which is not terrible as a free-to-play captain, but he's just providing really bad multipliers here, so not really worth running as the captain. He does provide a decent utility. It's very mediocre though. 5 turns of despair, but then only 3 turns of damage reduction and threshold reduction. He does provide a color affinity which cannot be removed by the enemy. It's okay, I guess. And then if Kaido's on the crew or support on Alba himself, he gives himself an orb barrier locked behind a tap timing based barrier or barrier of 1 perfect. So you can store his tandem orb. The enemy cannot change it to other types, but overall it's just mediocre. Even his threshold buff, 10,000 is quite a lot. Definitely could be way better. Just a very mediocre character, but he does allow you to get around stun since he reduces the crew's HP, and a lot of units do want you to work below 50%, so not a terrible unit, but quite niche, I would say. Actually, I'll put him in decent though. I do think he's a lot better than these characters. Drake, trash. I'm not even going to talk about that horrible unit. Yamato, she's not terrible. This is the first co-op unit, of course. I wouldn't say I use her quite often, but she is a decent character. Honestly, very unique character actually. After reading the kit, I might have to bump her up to the next tier. So she reduces bind and burn by 6 turns since she does have double special activation. And then if the enemy has immunity to specifically increase damage taken, or they have full immunity, so this does not include immunity excluding certain status effects, so keep that in mind. But it's very often that the enemy has all debuff protection, especially in Kizuna, and she will reduce slot bind by up to 6 turns. Only free-to-play unit in the game to do this. And a lot of the time, the enemy does give you slot bind these days, because a lot of the units nowadays are starting to actually remove it, like the new units that they release. So the fact that a free-to-play unit is reducing it by 6 turns, extremely powerful, and it is very easy to activate. Very often is this the case, and it is going to give herself a tandem orb, so proc super tandems, and then adjacent characters get one orbs. Once again, one of the only free-to-play units in the game to give one orbs, and it's the 3 characters. If you can lock these slots beforehand, then you can block the enemy from giving these units paralysis orbs, poison orbs, super block, etc. Very similar to the super bomb orbs from this kid. So really powerful orb manipulation, and she does give the bottom row characters 1-0 orbs at the start of the quest, which is just so good. Some of the best potential, sailor abilities in the entire game. And if the enemy doesn't have immunity to those to all immunity, either the regular debuff protection or specifically to increase damage taken, then she will give them the increased damage taken for a turn, which is really good. And then she will also give you a final tap buff of 25%. And remember, this is a buff that stacks, and when you use Yamato twice, this will go up to 50%, which is essentially 1.5x extra damage for your final tap. So really unique free-to-play unit. Good utility, very unique utility here. Really good damage as well, not bad whatsoever, and excellent orb manipulation. I really wish the 1 orbs was through block and that it was for everyone, but that would be too overpowered, I guess. I will put her here in often use though. Oh boy, this free-to-play Luffy, a must-buy unit. So good. There's a 20% health card, which is aight, but the main thing here is that it is doing damage, which allows you to get access to a lot of support abilities that only proc when you do a damage stealing special. Remove stun completely on the crew. Reduces attack down by 6 turns. And then if you have an attack and orb boost when you launch the special, gives you a chain growth rate buff of essentially doubling the chain growth, because usually it's 0.3 per perfect, but here it's 0.6. But if you don't have an attack or orb boost, you get a 2.5x attack and orb boost for your int and dex units for 2 turns. Bro, he's essentially the Kaido I mentioned earlier, but way better. It's for all int and dex units, not just for drivens. It's for 2 turns. So if you find a way to extend that by 1 turn, it's a multiple stage attack boost and orb boost. He's getting around stun completely. He just removes the stun. He doesn't get around it indirectly by reducing crew HP, which is actually way better, because you don't have to deal with the hindrance of reducing your crew's HP. You just remove the stun. The best free-to-play unit to get around stun by far. Gives you insane damage buffs. Even if you have an attack and orb boost, the chain growth rate is really unique and powerful for a free-to-play unit. And also the attack down utility is immense. Just a super good unit. And unfortunately, he does require him to be the captain for the super special, which gives you a color affinity of 2.25x for 2 turns. And then also an overrideable attack and orb boost. So as a captain, he's actually really good, because the overrideable attack and orb boost allows you to get both the chain growth rate buff and the 2.5x attack and orb boost when you activate his special. That's just how overrideable buffs work in the game. It's really powerful. So if you are running him as the captain, which he's not terrible as a captain. He gives ship cooldown, which is quite unique. He gives everyone cooldown, but he is only 4.5x multipliers, which is quite low, but not a terrible free-to-play unit as your captain, and he gets access to all the stuff. But as a sailor, I would say he's much better, because he gets around the stun for the entire crew. And also, he just provides really unique damage and utility. Just definitely a must-buy super evolution. Moria, he's pretty bad. I would say he's a niche unit. So first off, he is working with only driven and powerhouse units, so a lot more restrictive off the bat. He does reduce cooldown only for those classes by 1 turn. He does get around special rewind in this way because he reduces special rewind on himself as well as special bind. He does reduce special bind by 6 turns, which is really nice. He provides a 3-turn end of turn buff damage, which allows you to get around resilience over multiple stages, which is amazing, and then provides a 3-turn orb boost to those classes if you have below 51% HP. If you have above 51%, you get a weaker orb boost, but it's for 5 turns, so lasting over 3 stages, which is quite interesting. And then he also gives you healing in the following stage based on how many enemies you defeat in the turn, right? Very niche healing effect, not that crazy, but he is getting around resilience for 2 stages. He's getting around at least 1 turn of special rewind, unfortunately only for driven and powerhouse units. He gets around special bind, he gets around resilience over multiple stages. As I've said, he provides a 3-turn orb buff, but it is only 2.25x, and it is only to driven and powerhouse, so he's quite niche, but he is quite powerful in those circumstances. But yeah, he's just a bit hard to use. His cooldown is only for 1 turn and it's only to 2 classes. He just has a lot of drawbacks. He's not that crazy. I'll put him here in niche tier. Then we have Hiyori, very similar to the what's your face, Yamato. She does have double special activation. She's not bad. I would say she's a bit worse than the Yamato though. This Hiyori is quite interesting. I do think it's 100% worth super evolving her because her utility goes from 2 turns to 3 turns with the despair and attack down, but she is a double special activation unit. So the difference between super evolved form and 5-star form is 4 turns of despair and attack down reduction in the regular form, and then 6 turns of it in the super evolved form. So quite a massive difference there. She is giving the middle row characters 1 orbs at the start of the quest, which, as I talked about with Yamato, is really good. Those cannot be changed by the enemy. You can retain those, and that can be your matching orbs for the entire quest if you're smart about it. And then if you have the auto slot change buff, this is essentially the buff that states when you get a strength orb, converts it into 1 orb. And there's not a lot of characters that have this. The main unit that you're supposed to use her with for this effect is the Strength Legend Odin 6+, or you can use the Akazaya Samurai and Odin Dual unit. Both of them also provide that, but if you do have it, it gives you 15k straight up healing, which is great, and then also a 1.2x increase to your chain boost, and then or not an increase to your chain boost, it gives you a chain boost of 1.2x, and then also gives you a territory of cerebral to the field for a turn. Now New Shanks wants you to provide a cerebral territory for his special to be really good, so massive upscale for this Hiyori, providing that cerebral territory, which is really, really good. And then also boosts your in cerebral and free spirits attack by 1 for 1 turn of 2.25x, really good, applying to a lot of units. And then also gives the orb conversion buff that you need to get the territory, so you don't have to run this unit with Odin or the Akazaya Samurai. She provides the buff herself. So first activation, you get the attack boost and the orb conversion buff, and then the second activation, you get the chain boost, the healing, and the territory. And then on top of that, it's 6 turns of despair and attack down reduction, 1 orbs to the middle row. And if you can get Psi orbs, which are quite easy to get, you also get 1 orbs from this orb conversion buff. Just really, really solid unit. And she also has a pretty good support effect attaching to all of the retainers, as well as Yamato's and Toki's and Odin. Really, really good. It's a chain boosting support effect. So overall, I definitely underrated her. I think she is a must-buy character, honestly, with Shanks. I think she's amazing, and that increase in the super evolution is quite impactful, right? Zoro, I really can't say the same for this guy. He's really mediocre in my opinion. He does provide a slasher territory, so very similar to the Hiyori, she works really well with the new Shanks. This guy works really well with the new Buggy, providing a slasher territory, which Buggy does quite desperately need. But that's only if you're running Zoro as the captain, which is basically never. So just because of that, it makes it way harder to use him. He does have the ability to recur and have his special activate every single turn. um I mean, every single stage. At the start of every stage, he applies his special, which reduces damage reduction by 3 turns, despair by only 1 turn, gives himself a 1 orb, not through block, and then gives an end of turn damage buff of 99 turns. So, I mean, he's getting around resilience a lot. So, if there is a quest with every stage having resilience, then this unit would be amazing. But that doesn't really happen often. His despair reduction is appalling, it's rubbish. His orb manipulation is average. His damage reduction utility is also quite average. Just a very hard unit to use. He does have a really powerful sailor effect though. And as I said, if there's a lot of resilience in the quest, he'd be great to use. He also has the special limit uses reduction for the potential ability. Not a horrible unit, but it's definitely, honestly, even niche, I would say. He's just very hard to use. Not good enough at all. I think we're almost done with the free-to-play units. Vegapunk, he reduces any status, any icon debuff by 5 turns, which is not bad, but yeah, it's just not good enough. He's not doing much either. Besides that, he's not a good captain effect. He's not good in Rumble either. He's niche. He's definitely niche. I'm not even going to go into his kit, but he is just very hard to use. Very niche unit. Not the same for Mihawk, though. I would say he is an often used character. He does reduce orb-based damage reduction, which is the only free-to-play unit in the game to provide that, by the way. That Mihawk is very hard to replace. And he also does a decent amount besides that. So Mihawk in his Super Evolved state is going to reduce orb-based damage reduction by 3 turns, which is more than enough than you usually need. Usually this buff is 2 turns on the enemy. Gives you a 2.75x orb boost for slasher and shooter units for a turn. If you have an orb boost when you use the special, gives you a 25% final tap buff to your slasher and shooter units. So if your final tap is a slasher or shooter character, they get that 25% extra. Very similar to the Yamato from the co-op as well. And then if you have 1 or more Navy tag character or 2 or more 7 Warlords of the Sea, then gives you a 50% final tap buff instead of 25% for slashers and shooters. So he himself is of course not a Navy character, but he himself is a Warlord. So either you run one other 7 Warlord of the Sea or you run a Navy tag character. Either way is quite an easy requirement, and that is quite a substantial increase. It's a 25% increase. And then if you have 1 or more Navy tags or 2 or more 7 Warlords of the Sea, reduces enemy barriers by 2 turns. So I really think this guy is solid. He also gives top row tandem orbs at the start of the quest, makes them beneficial. He does have super tandem boost as well as barrier penetration. So he has a lot going for him, especially as a free-to-play unit. A lot of things he's doing no other unit, especially free-to-play unit in the game, does. He provides barrier utility, orb-based damage reduction utility, provides a really massive orb boost, as well as final tap buff. Unfortunately, like, he's not doing that much. He's also a really high cooldown unit. Yeah, he's definitely a often used unit, but not a must-buy, I'd say. Very solid and hard to replace, mainly because of the uniqueness of his special. I have to put him there, and also that is a massive orb boost for a free-to-play unit. Sentomaru, he's a very missed character. I know what they were trying to do here. He is the only free-to-play unit in the game to reduce blowaway. He does it by 2 turns, which is usually not enough. And also you need to run 2 Navy tag characters with him. Unfortunately, at that point in the series, Sentomaru is not a Navy tag character himself. So you have to run 2 other Navy tags on the crew to actually get the blowaway reduction. And even then, he's not reducing enough turns of it for him to be good. He's just a niche character. Bonnie, I would say she's a often used character. Really solid free-to-play unit, I would say. Bunny, in her Super Evolved state, she is going to provide a tap timing based attack boost. Only free-to-play unit in the game to provide that, but you do have to hit 3 perfects before that is active. So only half of your characters are getting that attack boost. But remember, this stacks with regular attack boosts, any other type of damage buff. It is really good and quite hard to get, even with paid units considered. it's a rare buff. So the fact that a free-to-play unit is giving this is so good. She reduces despair by 6 turns, makes perfects easier to hit for a turn, and then if you have 2 or more child characters or 4 or more paramythia types, then reduces slot bind by 6 turns. Once again, super rare debuff to reduce with a special, and 6 turns is a lot of it. This will most times reduce all the turns of it. And then right column characters, recover orbs. Left column characters, similar orbs, which remember cannot be changed by the enemy, and she does make them matching. So it's just a really irreplaceable unit. But when we look at the pre-super evolution state, she is only reducing the despair. Her tap timing based attack boost is a lot weaker. But she's not terrible still. I mean, she has the same utility here. I wouldn't say the condition is very hard to meet. She is a child unit herself. Yeah, pretty good character even before the super evolution. And mainly for that, I'll have to put her in often used, because you can still use her before the super evolution. She's not doing a lot of utility. That's the main issue and the main reason why I can't put her higher. I'll just leave her there for now, right? And that's about it for the free-to-play units. We've been like talking for 55 minutes. So let me know, honestly, should I do a separate video for the legends? I think I will. So I'll see you guys then. Hopefully I gave you an in-depth explanation for all of this. Stay tuned for part 2, where we will talk about all the legends. But for now, it's been Omae, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe if the content helped, if you enjoyed how in-depth I went for all these units. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, and I'm out.